Hey guys, it's Lizzie. If you're new to my channel, I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1, and I am a huge advocate for being medicated. That being said, I have excellent experience understanding the mindset of wanting to be off meds because since I began treatment in 2015, I have gone off meds 5 separate times. For 3 years now, I have successfully stuck with my treatment plan and stayed on meds, but back when I was first diagnosed, I would go off of them every 6 months like clockwork. Before we get into the video, make sure to be following me on my Instagram and Twitter for more bipolar content. I also have a Patreon, which will be linked below, patreon.com/LizziesAnswers. There are so many fun rewards on there, like me following you guys on social media, Skyping together, being in my virtual Bible study, picking out video topics, texting me. So linked below is Patreon. Now let's get back into the video. I've said before that the impulse and intuitions of wanting to go off meds are part of the illness itself because it's so common, but interlaced within all of that are actual reasons and a twisted kind of logic for doing it. My intent for this video is to confront and refute all of these reasons. Number one is the second time I went off of my bipolar meds, and looking back, it is so silly and ridiculous that this was my huge reason for not wanting to be medicated. And that is taking too many pills. So when you're working with your psychiatrist, a lot of times they'll have blood work done just to make sure you're not deficient in anything else that's making your depression and mania worse. And so while I was taking 6 pills of my bipolar meds, I was also taking vitamin D, iron, omega-3, B12 because I'm vegan, and I also sometimes take liquid biotin. Now, I can sometimes swallow all of these pills all at once, and I'm just so used to taking pills and supplements to keep me healthy, and it makes me so happy that all of these medications are available. But early on, it was so hard getting used to taking all of these pills, and that leads into number 2, which is being reminded that you have a chronic illness. At the beginning, it was so overwhelming, and I would just cry myself to sleep every night processing that I had bipolar disorder. And I've talked about this, but I also denied it for about a year. I just didn't want to accept that I had a chronic illness that could kill me. Bipolar has a 1 in 2 suicide attempt rate, a 1 in 4 successful suicide rate. You can also die in mania by doing things that are dangerous. So being 21 years old and being told you will have this for the rest of your life, it just felt to me almost like getting a cancer diagnosis. It was so hard to deal with. And so the third time I went off meds, this was a huge factor. Just that when I stopped taking my pills, I stopped crying, because it stopped reminding me that I was bipolar. And I was manic at the time, not in depression, so I was comfortable with the mania, it felt really great and everything, but just not taking the pills, it was a break from having to cry and cry and cry and process that I have a chronic illness. And what I will say in response to number 1 and number 2 is that you should be so thankful and amazed and excited to be living at a time where you can even get this diagnosis, where they understand bipolar so well, where there are dozens of different medications, dozens of different supplements that can help out your brain, help you to live a healthy, normal, beautiful life. I also want to share that the sooner that you just get on track with your treatment plan and stop resisting and resisting and resisting and going off meds, you will stop crying. Once I was balanced on my meds and I didn't have these like swinging huge emotions and crying spells and everything going on, it numbed me emotionally in a really, really beautiful, clarifying way that I didn't cry all the time. And so going on your meds, it will help you forget that you have a chronic illness because you'll have less symptoms. Number 3 is one I have so much empathy for, but I also have the absolute best rebuttal, and that is having horrible side effects from the medications that you're taking, like gaining a lot of weight, horrible acne, dehydration, dizziness. These side effects for some people are just difficult to cope with, and For me, when I was taking lithium back in 2015, 2016, I had the worst side effects. I was down in water all the time. I was really hot, like a raised body temperature, constantly horrible acne all over my face. And I recommend a medication called tretinoin cream. It's a topical treatment and it gets rid of the acne overnight. But I still had acne scars all over my face for like 6 to 8 months after I even went off lithium. And so because of those side effects, it was so motivating to just stop taking the lithium. But my response to this is that there are literally dozens of different bipolar meds, antipsychotics, mood stabilizers, antidepressants. In the rare instance you're put on an antidepressant, there are just so many medications to try, so many different combinations, so many different dosages. And so if you're having a physical side effect that you just can't deal with, tell your psychiatrist and be like, I refuse to be on these medications anymore. I want a different medication balance. Just go off all of those meds, taper down, but then taper onto new meds and work with your psychiatrist. If you don't want to have the side effects you're having, you don't have to deal with it anymore because you can go on different medications that don't give you those side effects. I just find it so common where people have a certain side effect or an emotional side effect from a medicine, they don't like it, and then they just completely ditch all medication. I mean, I'm really black and white, so maybe that's part of bipolar, being black and white, but it's so ridiculous looking back that I felt like this because it's like I'm on 3 pills. There's dozens of other pills you can take. And so just be really upfront and confrontational with your psychiatrist. And that's what I am like with my psychiatrist. I demand to change the dose. I demand to be on a medication I researched. And so really you just have to stick up for yourself, stand up for yourself, and you will find medications that don't have side effects. All the medications I'm on right now, Vraylar, Seroquel, Lamictal, yes, it gives me a little bit of dizziness when I get out of bed in the morning or stand up from sitting down, but that's so minor compared to other medication side effects. Number 4, feeling emotionally numbed out. So this is extremely common. Your antipsychotic dosage is too high and it's numbing down, diminishing your personality, getting rid of your passion and energy and drive for life. This is not normal. You should not completely lose your personality and feel like a zombie, be in this zombie-like, limbo-like state. That's not normal. Antipsychotics and mood stabilizers should bring out your true personality, which is not full-blown mania. Maybe it's a tiny bit hypomanic personality, but if you're experiencing just completely losing who you are, it's just so extreme, you need to be straight up with your psychiatrist and be like, we need to reduce the dosage, or we need to go on a completely different medication, or completely different medications if you're on several of them. I think the issue is that your psychiatrist will invalidate you and be like, you're just experiencing a distinction between manic you and regular you without an episode. But no, for a lot of people, it's not just like, oh, I miss being manic, but it's literally numbing you out so much. And so again, be really confrontational with your psychiatrist, just get off that medicine. Number 5, you feel yourself starting to get better. I completely 100% blame psychiatrists for this because they do a horrible job explaining the purpose of medication and why you should stay on it. They just don't explain anything to you at all. They do a 5-minute appointment, write you a prescription, and then push you out of the office. So this will especially happen after someone has gone through a major depression episode because the medications will take you out of depression and you're like, I'm not in depression anymore, why do I have to be on these medications? And a lot of times when you go off the medication, which happened to me, I immediately spiked back into severe depression once I went off my antidepressants in 2015. This was before I knew that I was bipolar. And the same thing happened to me in 2016 when I went off my meds, I went into a depression. For some reason, even though I crashed back into a depression episode, it took months to try medication again, which I don't even understand my thinking at the time. Number 6, you're not currently in a bipolar episode. The huge issue here though is that some people, when they go off their medication, they're not in an episode anymore. So you won't be in episodes your entire life. You'll have a depression episode, a manic episode, hypomanic episode, mixed episode, but there will be times in your life, months, maybe even years, when you won't be in a bipolar episode at all. And so people are like, why do I have to be on medicine if I'm not in an episode? The reason is that the entire point of the medication is to prevent episodes. You can shoot up into mania, crash down into depression overnight like a light switch going off. And it can take months to get up to the right dosage, to get up to a working dosage of a medication. You have to gradually taper up. Like Lamictal is my main medication preventing me from being in depression, and it takes 2 to 2.5 months to get up to a working dosage. And so imagine I'm like, oh, I'm not in an episode right now, and then I crash into a depression episode, then I have to live in depression for 2 months before getting out of depression. And it's the same thing with mania, although it's even more dangerous. Because imagine you spike up into mania, you love the mania so much, don't want to go back on meds, and then just go on manic bursts of doing all these dangerous, reckless behaviors that are ruining your life, ruining your relationships. You're fired from your job. I mean, there are just so many catastrophic things that happen in mania. And so why not just completely prevent the episodes from happening? It's so much better, and just make sure you're on medications that do not cause side effects. Don't completely numb who you are, and it'll be fine. Number 7, you want to be manic. So this is a huge reason that I've gone off meds, just because I love mania so much. It feels amazing. It's dopamine bursts. I'm so much more creative and productive. I'm more of a fun person. I feel closer to God. Life is just amazing. And so I think this is a huge reason that so many people don't want to be medicated. They just want to be manic. And for me, I was hypomanic for years before I knew I was bipolar. And so a few years ago, that felt like my true personality. It felt like not normal for me to not be manic. And so I wanted to be manic, and that's why I was off my meds. Like I just explained, mania can be really dangerous. And if you're like, oh, I'm only hypomanic, it's fine, that can develop into bipolar 1, into full-blown manic episodes and psychotic breaks. And so you just need to be really careful. And you know, my medications I'm on right now, I'm on 2 really strong antipsychotics, and I still am a little bit manic, but in a safe way. And so you can still have a lot of breakthrough symptoms, but have it be in a safe, controlled way. And so no one is saying that you have to stop being creative, stop being passionate, you're not going to be happy anymore. No one is saying that. It's just going to be in a controlled, chilled out, calm way. And that's the healthiest way to live. It's how you will live your best life. Number 8, you don't realize you're manic. So a lot of people, like how I just explained, I was manic for years before I was diagnosed. I had no idea that was mania. A lot of people will go off meds, and like what I said, where you think you're fine and healthy, you're not sick, you don't need to be on your meds, you actually are manic and don't even realize it. And maybe the people in your life are so used to your hypomanic personality that they don't realize it either. So just know that it is so difficult having self-awareness if you have bipolar disorder. My self-awareness is like days or weeks after I'm experiencing symptoms. Even though I've done so much therapy, so much self-reflection, so much meditation and prayer, I'm still not self-aware. And so you just need to be really, really honest with yourself, be humble, and understand that you might be manic right now, engaging in dangerous behavior. It could get stronger, and it's just better to be medicated. Number 9, you're philosophically opposed to medicating mental illness. There's this whole natural movement going on where so many people are against taking all sorts of medications, but especially when it comes to bipolar disorder and something happening to your brain, people treat it totally different. So if you have type 2 diabetes or cancer, people are totally fine with those people taking medication and doing treatments, but the moment it's happening in your brain, which is also an organ in your body, People see it so differently and don't want to be medicated. If you do brain scans, you can physically see a manic brain, a depressed brain. They can even tell the difference between a major depressive episode in depression versus a major depression episode in mania. It's physical. It's a physical organ. It's not just this immaterial mind bipolar disorder, it's physical. It's just like if you had diabetes or multiple sclerosis or cancer, it's no different. Your brain is an organ. And so the whole natural movement, it can ruin your life. It can kill you if you're not treating your bipolar. This is really serious. It's a chronic illness. It can kill you. Stay on medication, get medicated, find a good psychiatrist. Number 10, you can't afford medication. So bipolar is a disability and it affects every part of your life. In depression, it can be really hard to hold down a job, and in mania, you might impulsively just quit your job and start on a new project or start a different career that will never manifest. And so bipolar people are economically disadvantaged compared to the general population. Also, if you live in the US, we have a horrible healthcare system. Healthcare is so expensive. So I want to encourage you guys, enroll in Obamacare. It's really reasonably priced. Under Obamacare, I don't want to get too political in this video, but there are some parts of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act that are amazing for people with mental illness. So now mental health for mental illness is the same price as physical health for anything else. So it's considerably less money. And before the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, it would be impossible for a bipolar person to buy their own health insurance because it's considered a pre-existing condition. So health insurance companies would literally turn people away, and they can't do that anymore. So it is amazing. It's so much easier to get health insurance now. And I know for some people, they are so economically disadvantaged that it's literally impossible to get treatment. So I have so much empathy if you're in that situation, and I encourage you to look into Obamacare, look into Medicaid as well. Medicaid is amazing. That can help you get to a doctor, and just prioritize saving money and fixing this part of your life because it will help you economically in so many ways if you are getting treatment and you are staying on your medication. So the final, number 11, the bonus reason for going off meds is that you're worried being medicated will change your identity. So I felt like this for so long because I was used to being hypomanic. That person was who I was, and I felt like when I was put in a regular state, that wasn't who I am. That is not who I am. That's how I used to think. But my response now is that everyone changes throughout their life. They will have multiple identities as you get older, develop new passions, meet new people. Every single person, including non-bipolar people, will have various identities through the years. For us, it just feels so abrupt because you've been manic for a long time or even depressed for a long time, and now you're out of that and completely different. You experience emotions differently, physically, spiritually, everything feels different. But just because it's abrupt doesn't mean that it's not normal to change identities through the years. I feel like I should make an entire video talking about the identity problem in bipolar disorder. Comment below if you guys want that video. But these were the top 10, I guess 11 reasons that people go off their bipolar meds. I hope this encourages you to stay on meds, to get medicated. I've been there. I've gone off meds 5 different times. I understand it. Don't be too hard on yourself. Just go back to your treatment plan. Get back on meds. Don't feel overly guilty for not being medicated. It's just part of the illness. Everyone who's bipolar goes through it, but you have the choice today to turn around your life and get back on your treatment plan. Again, make sure you're following me on my Instagram and Twitter. I also have a website, LizziesAnswers.com, which will be linked below. And I have a lot of poetry and writing talking about bipolar disorder on there. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!